Hi there, Kendra Tolbert here. I'm a registered dietitian and yoga teacher, and I specialize in fertility and women's health. And today I have the third part in our 8-part series all about the Live Fertile philosophy in order to support your overall well-being as well as your fertility, whether your goal is to conceive like yesterday or you want to conceive sometime down the road. If you're not familiar with the Live Fertile philosophy, you can learn more about it by heading to the description box below, where I have a link to livefertile.com. I think it's /philosophy, and you'll learn more about it there. But in a nutshell, it's 7 principles that are really designed to support your overall well-being and your fertility so that you can create life mindfully. Last week, we took a look at the first principle, fun movement, and today we're looking at the second principle, enjoyable nourishment. Often when I'm working with my clients, this is the first place that I start with them because I'm a dietitian. I often start with enjoyable nourishment, and I really do stress the enjoyable piece because I feel like pleasure doesn't get nearly enough attention when it comes to nutrition and wellness. It seems like lately there's a really big emphasis on seeing food as fuel, as being totally utilitarian, and that's just not how I approach anything really in life, but especially not nutrition. We actually have research that shows that when a meal is more pleasurable, that it actually is more nourishing to our body. We actually extract more nutrition out of a meal that we enjoy. So you don't need to only eat the things that you think are good for you, but you don't enjoy. And you don't need to eat them in a way that's bland or even uncooked. I know a lot of people think that like things have to be raw in order to be the most nourishing. It's actually not true. A lot of foods, their nutrients become more bioavailable when we process them, when we cook them. So let all of that go, and it's okay to enjoy your meals. You have taste buds for a reason. Honor them. Often when I'm working with clients, the very first place I start is simply making sure that they're eating enough. So many people, especially women, have been given the idea that nutrition, that health is all about exercising more and eating as little as possible, eating just enough to get by, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. I often talk about food as being a messenger. Now, I'm not the first person to say this, and I can't recall who the first person was who I heard say it, but I'm grateful to you, whoever you are out there, because it really has shaped so much of my approach and philosophy when it comes to nutrition, so thank you. But yeah, food as a messenger, this idea that it is a way to communicate with your body what is going on in your environment. And when you're trying to conceive, it really makes a lot of sense to communicate that this is a land of plenty, that this is a land that can support both my body and the body of another person. You're not communicating that when you're not eating enough. You're not telling your body, this place is safe for me and someone else. So really keep that in mind when you're approaching nutrition. Are you eating enough? Are you letting your body know that there's enough to sustain you and another life? And if not, you may want to rethink what your ideas are around what health and well-being truly are. They're not about shrinking. They're not about restricting. They're not about being as small and taking up as little space and resources as possible. It's okay for you to get what you need and get enough of what you need. So that's where we start. Make sure you are eating enough. Number 2, or the second place that I often go, is making sure that they're eating a variety of foods. It's really easy for any of us to get stuck in a rut and just eat kind of the same 10 foods. I know I do it from time to time, but it really is important to have diversity and variety in your eating pattern. The more foods that you eat, the greater variety of foods that you eat, the more nutrients your body is exposed to. And that really is a wonderful way to make sure that you're supporting your body, that you're building your body up, and that your body is getting what it needs. We also know that when you eat a more diverse and a more diverse eating pattern, that your gut microbiome tends to be healthier, it tends to be more balanced, and it tends to be more diverse. So that's a lovely way to support your gut microbiome rather than focusing just on taking probiotics. Eat a variety of foods so that there's a variety of gut bugs available to support your health. So eat enough. Eat a good variety. And then the last piece, where I usually focus my attention, is making sure that those meals that you are eating and those snacks that you are eating are well balanced. Before I tell you what I consider to be well balanced, I want you to stop and ask yourself, when you hear the word balanced nutrition, what comes to mind? Did you ask yourself? Did you think about it? Okay, so I'll go on now. So when I say well balanced, I often think of the plate method as a lovely template. Not a rule that you have to follow perfectly because that's impossible and unnecessary, but a great template, a lovely way to think of most of your meals and snacks to make sure that they do have a good balance and a good variety and that they're satisfying to you. So the first thing to take a look at is including about half a plate of non-starchy vegetables. So those are things like leafy greens, broccoli, peppers, onions, all of those things, right? And they can be cooked or they can be raw. Totally up to you. As long as you enjoy them, you're doing it right. So we have the half a plate of vegetables, then we have a quarter of a plate of carb-rich foods. I know there's a lot of information out there about keto being great for people's fertility or for their PCOS, and I think that's not true. One, I haven't seen any research to suggest that, and as you recall, I said earlier, you want to communicate to your body that there's enough for you. If you're cutting out major food groups, if you're limiting any of your macronutrients down to such low levels that your body has to depend on something else in order to support you, then you're not communicating to your body that there's enough in this land to sustain you and another life. Keep that in mind. So carb-rich foods, that can be any sort of grain products, that can be fruit, that can be starchy vegetables. So any of those that you enjoy, think about making about a quarter of your plate made of those. Now for the last quarter of your plate, you're thinking pardon me. The last quarter of your plate, you're thinking protein-rich foods. That can be fish, that can be poultry, that can be meat, that can be beans, peas, and lentils. It can be any of those things that are high in protein. To round it all off, you want to make sure that you're using lots of herbs and spices. Herbs and spices are full of so many antioxidants and they have so many anti-inflammatory properties, and they're super tasty. So make sure that you're including loads of those in order to really up the nutrient level, but also to make those meals more pleasurable. And of course, you want to make sure that that meal contains a good amount of fat. Fat is so important. It provides the building blocks for so many of our hormones. It keeps us satisfied. It keeps our energy more stable because it actually slows down how quickly our blood sugar rises when it's included in a meal. And it helps us to actually absorb more of those fat soluble vitamins. Could not get that out. So it helps us to absorb more of the fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K. So focus your attention there on those three things: eating enough, eating a variety, and eating balanced meals. Think of what you can add to your meals and snacks. Think of what you can add to your body to truly nourish it in an enjoyable and sustainable way, rather than focusing too much attention on what you think you should avoid or what you should restrict. This is the time to build yourself up because you might be building a whole new human not too long from now, and that takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of nutrients. So remember, you have a right to enjoy your meals, and eating really can be a form of self-care. It's an opportunity to show yourself some love, some compassion, some joy. Make sure that you're taking advantage of that. Really see your meals as a chance to slow down and be with yourself and let yourself know that you're important enough to stop for and to nurture. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to head to the description box below where I have a link to the philosophy that I talked about briefly in the beginning, the other videos in the series, and some links to blog posts that I've written all about fertility nutrition in the past. I hope that you're having a lovely day. Be well, and bye for now.